Hi everyone, it is day 43 of my live video day challenge. Today I'm going to talk a little bit of history about Germany and Berlin. So I was living in Germany in the late 80s, but just to get a little bit of context. So after World War II, Germany was divided with the West being controlled by the British, the French, and the Americans. That's why my father was stationed there many different times during the Cold War, and also it was divided with East Germany, where USSR or Russia controlled, the Soviet Union controlled that bit. However, in the middle of that Red Sea of communism was Berlin, and indeed Berlin was divided as well. So one side you had the Russians, and then a third of the side you had the French, the British, and the Americans. Now, over time, the three Western allies, they combined their parts of Berlin to make West Berlin democratic and free, while the Soviets controlled East Berlin. However, there were growing tensions, as you can imagine, having this free West Berlin in an island, like in the midst of communism. So the division was a symbol of a really huge conflict, and it was known as the Cold War. And I just want to talk a little bit about the Cold War, because the Cold War was a 40-year period of tension after World War II between the U.S. and its allies, the Western, and the Soviet Union and its allies, the East. The West promoted democracy and freedom, while the East followed communism and government control. Though they never fought directly, they competed through nuclear weapons, the space age, espionage, and also the Iron Curtain. I'm sure you've heard that word as well. The Iron Curtain symbolized the divide in Europe during that time. So the Iron Curtain was coined by Winston Churchill in 1946, and it referred to the separation between democratic Western Europe and communist Eastern Europe. So the Cold War and the Iron Curtain, you kind of will hear that. Sometimes you'll actually hear that together. Now, West Berlin, as you can imagine, was this island. Here's a better photo here. Was this bit of this free democratic island in the midst of all this communism. So there was a lot of tension going on there. There were a few sort of like to get in and out of Western Berlin, you could only follow certain air routes going in. There were lots of strict rules, or you would take a duty train in to bring in supplies. They had one conflict, which was called the Berlin Airlift, where when the Soviet Union, they blocked all the roads, railways, and canals into West Berlin. However, the Western Allies, what they did is they launched the Berlin Airlift. This was in 1948, and for 11 months they would bring in goods. They were delivered in airplanes, and then the blockade ended in 1949. Now, some of the air bases that helped in this process of bringing goods into Berlin was the U.S. Air Force Base, Rhein-Main Air Base, and Wiesbaden Air Base, which I've actually spent a lot of time at. Rhein-Main was a very big base where a lot of us would go shopping, and we did sort of mingle with the Air Force kids, so that was kind of cool. And then there were 5 bases in Britain who also helped during that time. But then, of course, there is a memorial which is located, and I'm going to show you some photos now. It was the Berlin Airlift Memorial, and it's located at the airport. And I'm going to show you that now, and you might probably recognize that. So I'll show you a few pictures. So when I think I was 7, we were able to go to West Berlin. So that right there is the Berlin Airlift Memorial. That just signifies there were about 70 soldiers who died during that time, helping to supply the people in West Berlin. And also the Berlin Wall was constructed in 1961, so that the East Berliners would not try to get into West Berlin. But it was highly fortified. It was, and I want to show you those pictures right now. So right here is a picture of my family. We're right in front of Checkpoint Charlie. Now, Checkpoint Charlie, you could actually go from West Germany into East Germany, because the communist regime and the East German government, they just wanted to show that, oh yeah, you can come into our country. However, it was tightly monitored. They had the Stasi, the secret police, German police, making sure that you weren't taking photos and that you were, not doing anything illegal. But they kept it open to tourists, which was interesting. Now, we didn't go during that time. I think my parents were a bit afraid if we go over there that something might happen to us. Now, as you can see in this photo here, I'm in front of the Berlin Wall, and there is a bit of a cross there. So they had the wall set up, which was, let's have a look here. Okay, so here is the Brandenburg Tor, and as you can see, there's a barrier in front of the Brandenburg Tor. Brandenburg Tor was actually in East Germany. I didn't know that, so I thought, I just found that out now as I was doing a little bit of research. So Brandenburg Tor was in East Germany, and you couldn't even walk through it. The only way you could get through to East Germany, if you had permission, is going through Checkpoint Charlie. Now, Checkpoint Charlie and the Brandenburg Tor, they were in line with each other, so they you could easily walk from one end to the other. So there was a bit of a border there. It was on Friedrichstraße, and that is. Sorry, I've got all my notes here. So these two landmarks, so the Brandenburg Tor, which is in former East Germany, Brandenburg Tor, was on the same street as Checkpoint Charlie. And they were literally, it's in the back here, it kind of looks like a little bit of like a, when you go to a concert in a stand, it's right there, if you can see that right there. And so these were connected by Friedrichstraße, which was a major street in Berlin, but also there was the wall. Now, in this particular photo here, if you can see right there, there's me and my younger brother right there. There is a platform that you could go up the steps and you could look into East Germany. And so we did that right, here we go. This is good. So right here, you can see this photo right here. We've actually gone up the steps and we're looking over into East Germany. As you can see, there's barbed wires there, and there's also there's blockades. It was heavily guarded, and actually, I don't even know if I was supposed to take a photo, but there you go. so you can actually tell that it was heavily guarded. So that was our trip to Berlin. It was quite an exciting trip. I didn't really understand much, but I thought, oh wow, so those people live on the other side and we live on this side, and it just seems to be more colorful on our side. But it was a difficult time, an interesting time for the East Germans, and if you can imagine being West Berlin, being in an island in this sea of communism. It was quite an interesting city. But I'm going to share a little bit more about going into East Berlin. I was able to go into East Berlin with my mother about 10 years later. More than 10 years later, I was able to go into East Germany when it was still East Berlin, and just the things we experienced then. So I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of a segment. There's a lot involved with Berlin and East Germany, and World War II, how Germany was divided. And that sort of explains why a lot of servicemen from the US, the UK, and France were in West Germany, just trying to make sure that we wouldn't go back to war. So they were trying to realign and make sure that they just wanted to make sure that what happened during World War II would never happen again. So, so I hope you've enjoyed this segment. This is Evelyn. This is day 43, Heart and Soul with Evelyn. I look forward to your company tomorrow.